I'm Kelly Kessner, and I'm here with another episode of Investors Watchdog University. I'm here with Pat Huddleston, the founder of Investors Watchdog. And here we're going to talk about a particular kind of scam artist called the bad report card fraudster. Pat, what exactly is that?
Well, it's something that we can all relate to, Kelly. I mean, I don't know, but you and I are both lawyers by training, and so we did pretty well in school.
Speak for yourself, Pat.
Yeah, I know, but well, I guess maybe like you. My path to academic success was not smooth. I mean, there were a lot of bumps and hurdles. And I remember specifically in middle school, I had a couple of semesters where, man, there were some bad grades on that report card. Everybody out there has a similar experience. Whether it was grades for you or something else, you remember growing up or even in your adult life when you had bad consequences. You didn't do very well, and you didn't want anybody to know about it. If you're a kid, you don't want your parents to know because you know the mom bomb is going to go off and you're going to be grounded for 3 months, and that's the best case scenario, right? And so I used to come home with those report cards and I would think, God, there must be another way. It can't be necessary for me to go through the pain I know I'm going to go through. And lots of kids do. And some kids decide they're going to take that D on their report card and they're going to turn it into a B with a little stroke of a pen. And so I call this happens with investment advisors every time they have to send out a disappointing quarterly report or any report to their clients that show that they haven't done very well. Those monthly statements, those quarterly statements for an investment advisor, those are the report card.
So the advisor thinks he's telling a little bit of a fib, but then it tends to go a little bit longer or continues on because that one fib could lead down an entire line? Oh,
that's exactly right. What he thinks is that he's just going to cross over this ethical line and then he's going to hop right back. That he's going to say that the account is bigger than it is, even though it isn't, and next quarter the market is going to go great. He's going to be able to straighten out all the accounting, and then from then on, all the accounting is going to be completely accurate. Everything's going to be great. But what happens is they find that there's a steep slope on the other side of that ethical line. And that first little crossing of the line leads to a downward trajectory that just starts to snowball, and they start picking up other people's accounts, and pretty soon they can't even rationalize it anymore.
Didn't Bernie Madoff start out that way? Or Ponzi schemes in general, isn't that usually how they start?
I would say more than half of them. You know, from my experience, I would say more than half of them start that way. And according to the book Wizard of Lies by Diana Enriquez, which is a terrific book, I recommend that you get it. Bernie Madoff claims that he did start that way. That the whole thing, the thing that wound up being the biggest investment fraud in history, started with his not wanting to send out a bad report card.
So they suddenly didn't just turn criminal, decide to become a criminal. It started with one little fib, and then they end up going down this long road.
Well, that's exactly right. And the point we try to make with that is this is not some extraordinary brand of evil. It's easy to think that it is, especially if you're a victim of one of these characters. But what I try to get across with calling it bad report card fraud is to get across this is just mundane, ordinary, everyday human temptation that these guys are giving into. And so do you know how common that is in the world in general and in the investment world specifically? It happens every day. That's why so many of these things crank up and why it's so easy for them to begin.
And so the next Bernie Madoff can be around the corner. He hasn't crossed an ethical line yet, but it may just be something that too much bad news, one more bad line, and they decide to cross that line.
Yeah, that's exactly right, especially in these days and times when commission income has been down because people have been afraid of volatility. You know, the mortgage payment hasn't gone down for the broker, the car payment hasn't gone down, and the kids' cost of raising them hasn't gone down. And so a lot of them are under stress. And so this is a time, even more so than before Bernie Madoff, where these things could crank up. And so there's a lot more to know, a lot more that we're going to teach you at Investors Watchdog University. But
in the future, we'll get into some of the ways an investor can spot these and how to possibly protect yourself against them. But until now, that's it for this week. Class dismissed.